Hello, my name is Chris O'Rourke, and I'm a go-to-market specialist for AWS supporting the product Wickr. I'm going to open up this conversation and talk a little bit about encryption and security, and to ask yourself, if something is encrypted, does it automatically mean it's secure? Let me give you some visuals to consider. Many people who look at this video may not have heard of the product Wickr before. Wickr is an AWS native product, and it is able to provide end-to-end centrally managed communications, whether it's chat, video, or voice, and to be able to deploy in many different environments from both mobile and desktop. Specific to today's conversation, I want to talk a little bit about the challenges that some of our local, state, and federal customers have when talking about communications both internally and externally. For the purposes of today's conversation, AWS Wickr is not intended to replace your current internal collaboration solution. And when we talk with our customers, they are expected to use that internal collaboration solution, typically the same solution that you have your Active Directory, email, and you're able to work on some of your spreadsheet and documents. But then you're expected to use that same internal collaboration solution with your external partners. Gaps can then exist when those external partners are not federated with your internal collaboration solution. And the best way to figure that out, as the kids say, search them up in their Active Directory. Employees then are reverting to solutions that are free and easy to use, whether it's text messaging or some of the free encrypted applications. And then at that point, organizations begin to trade their security and compliance that their IT departments and CISOs have put in place. Issues like data retention for open records compliance and for our federal customers, FedRAMP regulations start to become a problem. And then ultimately, your carefully managed network can be opened up to data spillage, can be potentially compromised, and you can lack compliance quickly. Going back to the question that I asked at the beginning, does encryption always equal security? And while end-to-end encryption is important, it is my argument that security begins with centralized management, the ability to control through single sign-on, to be able to enforce data retention, and then also to be able to have centralized additions or deletions for employees or parts of your network that are brought in, or when they leave, they're not ultimately always added to your network. For some of our federal agencies, Wickr Gov, which is our FedRAMP SaaS Wickr solution that runs in AWS GovCloud, can effectively create FedRAMP High ad hoc federated networks that, as I said, can be deployed on both iPhone and Android, Mac, and PCs, as well as Linux. Wickr Gov can deploy an LCK handling many high side and sensitive information. And our mission partners can essentially create ad hoc, siloed and non-siloed information between themselves or their mission partners, whether it's FedCiv, NATS, some of our IC community, and our Department of War customers. And they can easily federate with centrally managed and end-to-end encryption. Internal and external mission partner rooms can be created to establish that high side TS file exchange and file repository. I'll give you a visual of that in a moment. And then you can also layer in things like TAC, ATAC, and location sharing to allow for multi-jurisdictional and situational awareness for incident command and crisis response. Ultimately, Wickr Gov can serve as a primary or out-of-band communication tool beyond radio and cell phone. Wickr is not intended to replace. We know that radio is the lifeblood of incident command, but in the event that you need an out-of-band communication, or if you need some type of maybe non or closed space for people to get into, then you're able to deploy Wickr and to control those communications. And that critical information can be classed up via a bot, something called diode. Here's a visual. This is a picture of what this looks like from the desktop application. As you can see here, you're able to create rooms. And inside of those rooms, you can federate partners from people outside of your organization. Maybe federal agency A needs to coordinate with state agency B and local agency C. And within that, you can create a room for chat. At the same time, you can upload and collaborate on files, essentially creating a FedRAMP collaboration and file repository. A very unique capability, especially when you start talking about AL5 and soon to be hopefully AL6 communications, along with other high side file repositories. Here's a great depiction of the data retention process. As we know, anyone who is a public sector customer is going to be subject to open records compliance, and to make sure that you're able to retain those records for, in some cases, up to 5 or 10 years. As you can see here, there's two users of Wickr. One sends a message, it's encrypted, it's then decrypted on the other side. And if you deploy our data retention bot, you're able to then be able to keep a copy of all of those records automatically and not have to use some of the ways that we hear, whether it's screenshotting or other maybe workarounds to ensure that you have data compliance with these open records compliance efforts. And then finally, talking a little bit about bots, and bots is probably a much longer conversation that we'd love to talk with your organization. Bots allows Wickr to become the connective tissue between outside solutions. You can basically bring in, maybe through an IDP, some type of SaaS related solution. Maybe it's some type of AI or machine learning that you're looking to secure, and to be able to not expose that to some type of web traffic. You can also bring in things like situational awareness tools or sensor alerts through bots. You can also take information that's created inside of Wickr, use a bot to then automatically extract that and move it into some other SaaS-based solution. And then finally, I wanted to close and just kind of say, why would you use Wickr? Ultimately, we know that the internal collaboration solution that is being used for our federal, state, and local customers, along with our commercial customers, we're not looking to replace that with Wickr. We think Wickr is an unbelievable solution when it comes to out-of-band communications, as well as what happens when you have multi-jurisdictional communications. First and foremost, Wickr is centrally managed. You're able to control who's allowed into your network, and you can't accidentally add someone by typing in the wrong phone number. Wickr is based on one of the highest levels of encryption models possible. At the same time, we're able to provide data retention and open records compliance. Wickr is FedRAMP AL5 and hopefully AL6 to be in the future, and is hosted in AWS GovCloud. You're able to create those secure file transfers and file repositories that's very unique to Wickr. And then finally, we're able to utilize agents and bots to expand Wickr in the future. You're able to pull in things like TAC and ATAC for situational awareness to know where your team is located at one point of time. And then you're also to be able to bring in integrations with other AI or OSINT tools. Thank you very much for taking the time to learn a bit about Wickr and Wickr Gov. And please reach out to me via LinkedIn to see how we can support you. Thank you.